It's time to ask whether the attack on the United States Congress yesterday was foreseeable, predictable, and to some degree self-inflicted.
Wasn't that crazy? I mean, the idea of him sitting here saying that we need to consider that the shooting of Mr. Scalise was self-inflicted is crazy, isn't it? Or maybe it isn't. I mean, work with me for a second here. During former President Obama's administration, at the shootings of Freddie Gray, the shootings of Alton Sterling, and as well as Michael Brown, or even as we cite the statistics of the shooting that happens in liberal states and cities like Chicago, we turn around and we often say, whether a cop shot the person or not, what about black on black crime? It's a legitimate question, right? I mean, why should we not consider this? I mean, the people who reject it, the people who reject the idea of considering black on black crime, will use phrases like, well, that's a bogus argument because of the fact that most people will kill the people who look like them because of proximity. 83% of white people kill other white people. 91%, well, actually the number is 95, but let's still work with the fact that 9 out of 10 black people kill other black people. But needless to say, let's move on from that. But the idea of asking the question, was it self-inflicted? It was a good question. It might be offensive, it might be bothersome, but it is a question that needs to be asked. I mean, if we want to sit here and shut down the rhetoric or even the failure to report the truth by the lamestream media, how dare we reject any question that's out there, no matter how absurd it would be? Because again, there's a segment of America who would look at the question about what about black on black crime as absurd. So if we really want to be true champions of truth and justice and liberty and a balanced approach of sharing the news without editorializing it, why should we be offended by this seemingly good question? Now, mind you, the rest of the audio, and I'll make sure that you can see the video clip and the location of where it was, the broadcast is available from this gentleman, but he did finally end up in the video, in the audio, with some words of wisdom that I think that we should take into account. And so why don't you take a listen?
In Twitter world, we've come to believe that our first thought is our best thought. It's past time for all of us, presidents, politicians, reporters, citizens, all of us, to pause, to think again.
So there you have it. The idea that we should really consider what we're saying. We really should reevaluate what we're saying. I don't mind sharing the news. I don't mind talking about the news. But if we incite anger and we incite more violence, we're contributing to the problem. Don't be a tool or don't be a manipulator. Be someone who actually just shares the truth and foster good conversation that doesn't result in violence, but resorts in a direction of possible unity and peace and resolution. Now, granted, there will be times where violence is required. Let it not be because of the fact that we fail to refrain from using common sense and wisdom when we're out there in the social media realm where we have access to millions of people. Be wise, be true, be right. Watson Prunier on Battle for Freedom, part of the Lanterns Media Network, and I also broadcast on Lanterns Radio Network. Check me out at www.lanterns.buzz.